Down to 3.
Budget workshop on May 5th, 2021.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the May 5th, 2021 Budget Workshop for the town of Port Royal. We've got Mayor DeVito on virtual, and then we've got myself, Mary Beth, and Daryl with us,
Kevin?
as well as Kevin. So I want to call this meeting to order. First agenda item is discussion of review, and I'll turn it over to Van. We've got the court. If you can lead us off.
Well, actually, before we even start that, I'd like to make an introduction.
Sure.
I'd like to introduce Mike Wesson, who is our new inspector.
Hey, Mike.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard, Mike.
He has won the award for most traveled distance to get to the town of Port Royal. And
Not country.
he's the family is soon to follow, correct?
Yes.
And he's been on the job now for what, 2 or 3 weeks?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. And so he's becoming very familiar with Port Royal. I heard him say something about humidity a few minutes ago, so I think he's getting used to that. But if you want to give him a little bit of your background, any information you'd like, I'm sure they'd appreciate it.
Okay. First, I'd just like to say I'm excited to be here. This is an area my wife and I have enjoyed for a lot of years. And most recently, the last 5 years, I've been building official up at Kenai, Alaska. So that's what he's talking about as far as the heat goes. So far, I'm doing pretty good. I'm not sure about my kids. They might melt as soon as we get down here. But looking forward to it. I'm going to go get them here in the next couple of weeks. And just, really enjoy being here, what short time I have. And look forward to getting to meet all of you.
Well, good. Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard.
Are you from Alaska?
No.
Where are you from originally?
Before that, I was 6 years with the city of Cleveland, Tennessee.
Okay.
And then grew up in southeast Alabama. My wife's from Georgia.
Okay.
So just wanted to get back closer to family.
Sure.
Kind of hard to visit up there, so really enjoyed it. but
Sure.
Ready to be back closer to home.
Well, good. Well, welcome.
Congratulations.
Have you found a location yet, a place to stay?
Oh, we're working on it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hopefully it's
crazy
Port Royal.
market.
Good. Yes, it is.
All right.
Well,
Thank you.
welcome to Port Royal,
aboard.
Mike. We're happy to have you.
It's nice meeting you.
Just so you know, he has 80 hours of travel time back down here once he starts making the move south. So, exactly.
Welcome. Okay. Thank you for that, and thank you for that introduction. Now we're ready for next order of business to discuss our budget workshop, starting off with the court.
Sure. I provided each of you with a spreadsheet for each of the departmental budgets. And then I included just some initial numbers on revenue projection. And you also have that kind of the first memo, kind of giving you a bit of an overview of those three departments. Just real quickly, I just want to talk a little bit about revenue before we jump into the other stuff. But, obviously of concern to us is projecting, or at least it was projecting last year, what the impacts of COVID would be on property tax collection, business license collections, hospitality, and accommodation taxes. And to be quite honest with you, they're trending pretty well. I mean, we still have some work to do to figure out on accommodation taxes, and I think that's clouded by some other issues that we're hoping to deal with. Obviously, hospitality's been impacted, but, some of the larger revenue line items, property taxes and business licenses are actually tracking pretty well. As you can see, just that initial, estimation that I've done on a proposed budget for the upcoming year without having filled in some of the additional line items, we're tracking pretty closely to where we will be in anticipated revenues in the current fiscal year. So just keep that in mind. All right, well, the first one, and these first three, we included these in the first budget workshop because they're fairly straightforward. We knew the mayor would be out of town, and so we figured we'd address some of the departmental budgets that are probably a little less complicated than the legislative and executive, which can have some policy impacts as we move forward. So the first one that is listed, I believe, as court. For the viewing audience, I'm going to put this up on the document handler. And then I believe I will, well, I can't do that. The problem, if I use the document handler, I can't put the spreadsheets on their screens in front of me. So we'll,
I can put the document handler so it's on all the screens.
okay, perfect, that's
Yep.
good. All right. All right. We're gonna go old school here. Even though we have like 8 cameras and 22 microphones in here right now, we're gonna use basically an overhead projector to talk about this departmental budget first. Let me get it. Whoops, wrong one. Zoom it out some. Give me a sec. Jump back over here. And of course, I gave the one I needed. Give me 1 second. All right. Let me grab my memo. And just real quickly, before we jump into it as well, for the most part, and you're going to see this in the 3 budgets that I present, a lot of the potential increases or impacts to these budgets are related to personnel. And a few things. One, there were some changes in the state legislature relative to how we handle retirement moving forward. We've kind of had an escalation of contributions both on the employer and the employee side. And I believe this is the final year. You know, the South Carolina retirement system was not performing very well due to some mismanagement, probably about 7 or 8 years ago. I think they've addressed that, but one of the things that they're attempting to do to make it whole, if you will, is adjust the employer and employee contributions. And so what you see there in the court budget, at least initially, is that 1% employer portion increase, and then a 2.6, employer, 1.6 employee, 2.6 employer portion increase for the upcoming year. Also calculated for now in this budget is a 2% cost of living adjustment for employees, and that's across all departmental budgets. And I think I gave y'all a summarization of what that overall fiscal impact would be. A 2% COLA figured across all personnel line items increases the budget across all departments, and keep in mind that the entire budget's $7 million, $155,000. However, that's not in a vacuum. If there was a 0%, no cost of living adjustment in the upcoming fiscal year, we still would anticipate a $77,000 increase across all personnel items because of the legislative retirement system increases, as well as the scheduled longevity increases for employees that are included in the employee handbook. So what you're looking at, if council chooses to take the recommended 2% cost of living adjustment for employees, you're looking at about a $78,000 increase in the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. All right. So court, basically from the current fiscal year to the upcoming fiscal year, the anticipated increase in that budget is about $7,500. Most of it related to personnel costs. The one subject that we are still attempting to address, and the city I think is in there as well as Bluffton, is how we're going to handle the public defender's office moving forward. I included in your packets what they initially projected as the cost share for all of the entities involved in the upcoming fiscal year. I think we are asking them to adjust that. I think they've seen some pretty significant volume increases, and I think they were at 400 cases was what was in the contract. That doesn't mean 400 defendants. That means 400 cases. One person might have 3 cases. So we're attempting to address that as well. But, and I've asked Tracy to analyze what we represent proportionally in all of that, and so maybe we'll take a look at it that way. Despite all of that, I still do not foresee like I said, I'm still only anticipating about a $7,500 increase in that budget for the upcoming fiscal year. Like I said, pretty straightforward. As you can see on the side, 2% cost of living, the 1% employee increase, the 2.6 employer, and like I said, the special contracts, which involves bond court services contract with the city of Beaufort, as well as the contract for public defender's office. Any questions about that one? All right.
I don't have any.
Okay. Well, the next one. Yeah, we'll do building services, safety services next. Thank you. All right. Let me scroll back up a little bit. All right. I got them a little out of order in the memo, so you'll have to skip to the last page. Once again, I'm projecting about a $26,000 increase from the current fiscal year to the upcoming 21-22 fiscal year. And that is in salaries and the associated personnel line items. That includes both the inspector and the part-time clerk. The inspector, which you've brought on, that we've brought on, is taking on some additional responsibilities and bringing some different certifications to the table. It's going to allow us to do some things in-house that we previously were farming out to a certain extent, as well as he's taking on probably one or two of the responsibilities that Linda had also. So that's kind of reflected in the salary numbers that you see there. One of the additional line items that you probably have some interest in is the special contracts. That is a bump from the previous year, but you can also see we're year-to-date lower on the salary side, and that's because obviously Burl retired, and then we had additional services provided by the city of Beaufort for, they were doing commercial inspection, but they took on the residential inspection until we made the transition. Yeah.
I just noticed workers' comp. Why is it budgeted, but it's a whole lot, actual is a whole lot less? And I noticed that on the other one. Was there, how can you explain it to me?
Well, what typically happens is annually we go through a review process with the provider. And we have to present them with a litany of activities or record keeping or training that we've done. And based upon that, they will do a projection per department or per employee classification of what the anticipated costs are for workers' comp for that year. And this year, looking at the 2021 budget was 900, and I think we're at 761. And that could be, that adjustment may happen in the middle of the year, but we project it out just in case. And because of our experience modifier, we've done pretty well over the last few years.
What is our mod rate?
It's a less than 1.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
That's
it's
real
less
good.
than 1. So, that's, not bad for a couple of employees in that particular department.
No, that's real good.
Yeah. But like I said, anticipated budget for the upcoming year, just shy of $210,000 for building services. And we are seeing, despite the pandemic, steady, if not increasing, permit requests, site plan review. So we'll keep plugging away there. Let me check the notes that I have at the bottom here, just in case they think. And because we are bringing on a new employee, we're making sure that training is adequate, certifications are taken care of, and because we've been in a pandemic, so there hadn't been a whole lot of travel and training in the last year at all.
And our shed costs will come down.
Yeah, they will, because we'll be completely out of it. A couple of things that we're working on with the owners is, despite the fact that the front building is owned by a different operator, they still have some shared electrical and shared HVAC. So we've got to separate those things. But I will tell you, We were looking at the potential purchase of the last lot, a part of the shed compound, if you will, and property holdings. So we'll have to think about what we want to do there. So I've got to engage the HVAC folks and the electrical to separate them so that we have some clean bills there.
Gotcha.
And it's just for a point of interest, they're fairly close to their certificate of occupancy, a temporary certificate of occupancy at that building.
Oh, wow.
So that's pretty
Perrin.
Perrin, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like I said, pretty straightforward. And what's interesting is if you go back historically and look at this budget, it's 2019 and 2020, we're at 215.
Right.
So despite the fact, we're a couple years later, we're actually below that number.
Right.
Now, a lot of that was special contracts and shed costs, if you will.
That's really good.
All right. Any questions about that one? Mary, you got any questions?
No, I do not.
Okay.
I'm listening. I got you on mute because there's a lot of background noise where I am.
Gotcha. All right. And now the final one that we will be discussing tonight, and then we can probably just get into the discussion of the budget in general because we've covered three, is streets and sanitation. Let me give this one's. Here we go. All right. The current fiscal year budget for that department, $1,285,961. Projected next year, $1,416,851. That is a pretty significant jump. 75,000 of that is associated with matches for the CDBGs. We're spreading out payment of those matches over a couple of years. We do have a contribution from Beaufort Jasper participating. So that's a fair chunk of it, and because we have a number of additional employees in that department, that's why you'll see the 2% cost of living adjustment, the employee contributions to South Carolina Retirement System. You'll see some increases there. This was an analysis of those costs, potential costs for the upcoming year. A couple of the things that I wanted to discuss with y'all, and those are things that we brought up at the workshop. And as you'll see in this budget, if you look at the, let's scroll down a little bit, the lease payment line item, that $52,000 payment is for the knuckle boom, and that's a 3-year financing. If we were looking to purchase another knuckle boom, you would probably be adding another $52,000.
Have we got two currently?
We have two currently.
Is one down or both of them up?
I think they're both up,
Okay.
but obviously the mileage associated with one is pretty significant. If we chose to go the route with another truck rather than a knuckle boom, obviously not as expensive. I'd want to sit down with Jeff a little bit more and figure out exactly what he would like to see. One of the problems we have now is one of our primary drivers is still out. And so even with the addition of a truck, we don't have the body to put in it, the driver to put in it, so we need to think about that. Although from what I understand, that person could be coming back soon. So, one of the other things I've thought about is, a lot of the carpentry work that we do around town associated with the wetlands, we outsource. So one of the things I was thinking about, was the potential addition of somebody who could qualify as both CDL and somebody could do some carpentry work. Improvements to the amphitheater, simple small projects where we have right now are having to wait. What does concern me is I will probably face the same problems that other employers are having at this time, just finding labor.
Yes.
So it is a significant increase over the previous year's budget, but like I said, a lot of that is tied to the matches, which we certainly need to budget, and it's a good leveraging of town dollars. So the landscaping budget is in there. That's a contract, that's a, kind of a placeholder. The RP for that, I finally got it back, and we will get it out. But I expect it to be somewhere in that neighborhood as well. So,
That's going out in May.
no, it'll go, yeah. You got me, I was thinking we were in a different month, but yeah, it'll go out in the next couple weeks. Any questions on that one?
No.
Okay.
Jerry,
Sir. Go ahead, Mayor.
thank you, Jerry. Van, I did have a question on the street maintenance one.
Yeah.
There isn't a specific line item for what I'll call kind of hard repairs, pothole patching, sidewalk replacement, that kind of stuff. That's kind of done in different areas. Is that something that we should be quantifying, seeing exactly what we're spending on those, or am I just missing it and it is specific to one of those line items?
No, sometimes
it.
it gets spread out, depending upon, if we're doing stuff, it's, at the wetlands, obviously it's gonna come out of saltwater utility if we're patching and doing repair work there. But a lot of what you're talking about is, that street edge stuff. It's small in scale. I can have Chris extract it exactly where he's pulling it out of. And I'm looking here to see if I can identify it. And I did put in your folders, which I'm gonna try to go to real quickly, is some of those ledgers for these departments, and I'm gonna try to pull them out real quick and take a look. And I'm freezing. Oh, here we go, hold on.
That's okay. I was just trying to understand where it was placed, and I thought it a lot of times we did it as a small capital or a special project.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if we don't, as we keep moving forward, want to start showing it exactly what it is, in those costs for sidewalk repair, for road repair, and have a specific line item for it. Just something for you and Jeff to think about as we move forward.
Right. Yeah, and
Thank
I'm
you,
just,
Jerry.
right, I'm in, looking at some of the streets and sanitation ledgers. And there was one other one I wanted to pull up real quickly. But I can have Chris pull those out and maybe consolidate them, and maybe we create a kind of a road sidewalk specific line item, so that we can track those things a little bit better. And he may have that, I just don't have him here right with me right now to point me to which of those
Why wouldn't it be included under capital?
ledgers. Well, if you look at capital, it's so insignificant in terms of what we've spent in that budget this year. He's obviously has those in another spot. Because we've certainly spent more than $3,500 on street, on pothole repair this year for sure. And I'll have that ready for next. I'll have it before the workshop next week. How about that?
Fair enough.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I know, and so we've kind of talked about the three budgets that, we were going to talk about at this particular workshop, because we knew this would be a little bit of a challenge, as we're all meeting in person and kind of hybriding it. But, this is a budget workshop, and since we've covered the three, if there are other, budget-related topics we wanted to go ahead and just start discussing, I think we can do that. If it's related to revenue or just policy decisions. Anything in the memo that, might have caught your attention, we certainly can discuss at this point.
I don't have anything.
Jerry, can I ask one question?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Van, nothing specific about what you asked, but in the budget worksheet on your summary page, you've got a headline that says shortfall and a dollar amount.
Right.
But we're not. I know. I looked at the formula and I understand what it is. It's not a shortfall at this point. It's positive.
Right. That was last year.
Yeah. Right. I just can you adjust that? Make sure everybody understands. Put a note or whatever it is, what that number is. Because I looked and I found the formula and I figured out what it was. Yeah. But it's titled shortfall, and we certainly don't have a $5 million shortfall at this point in the budget process. But just to make sure it's clear to people.
Yeah, on the revenue on that revenue page, I have over on the side those expenses by department. And basically below what is that shortfall is just a formula that calculates those expenses by department against total revenue. And it just calculates it as I enter that information. And in previous years, and in most, I'll be honest with you, in most years, as I move through the budget, there's always a shortfall. Because as we contemplate different expenditures per departments, we make adjustments accordingly, whether it's going from a 3% COLA to a 1, or deciding that we aren't going to add that employee, or we're maybe going to do a little better across a specific revenue line item that gets adjusted. And I should put the shortfall, / surplus in that column, so maybe that'll give some clarity to it. Because like I said, it just changes, and then it does go from a shortfall or a surplus to a 0 before the end of the budget, before the budget is passed. I'm trying to get into that box now.
What part of the year does the Dominion franchise fee come in?
The very
Last.
last
Day-
day.
Last day, just barely gets it.
Yeah, they like to give it to us then.
All our franchises come in at
Just
the
at the
last minute.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
It's
so
always done that.
yeah, we will change. I don't know why it's not letting me in there. Oh, because this is a,
That makes sense.
yeah.
Why would they get rid of it?
So we'll
'Cause they
change
can
that
hold
up.
money all the time, too.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No questions?
Yeah, nothing at this time.
All right.
No questions? Van, did you want to go over anything else? We're good for now?
Well, no, not really. I mean, let me look at the memo real quickly and see if there was something that.
Mayor, did you have anything? Well, if not, we'll adjourn until our budget workshop public hearing, as we're our public hearing at 6:30.
No, I don't have anything to add at this point.
Just a couple of things, I mentioned in the briefing that are dollar related. The accommodation tax request of the county for the Porter's Chapel was funded, so that'll be addressed. I know Reese participated in a meeting this morning that I jumped in after a meeting I had today on. There are several pots of.
Just jumped in too.
Yeah.
So I just beat you in there.
Yeah, several federal pots of money for potential infrastructure projects, and related expenditures across a spectrum of services is something we're all working together. Well, I think broadband was one topic. Obviously, the miscellaneous significant capital projects that we all are attempting to fund right now were discussed. We're all compiling lists of things to be considered. Then there's the dollars that are being designated by population for the Recovery Act that each of us are receiving in one way or another, but we have parameters for how those dollars are going to be spent. So that could impact this budget as well. But we've got to figure out what a lot of that means. We kind of have a general understanding of what the legislation means, but the county's brought somebody on to help us kind of maybe maneuver through that legislation. I think the way it's set up, it could be challenging in a lot of ways to address how those dollars would be spent, but we'll figure it out. Is that a fair assessment?
Very fair assessment, sir.
So with business licenses, we've collected year-to-date 545,000. Do those as well come in late in the cycle, or are those
Yes.
cyclical, or?
Yeah, you see, there are a couple of collection programs that Municipal Association handles. One is insurance and the other is telecommunications. And those are very large checks that come in at the end of the fiscal year.
Gotcha.
And, what we kind of use to gauge where we are from year to year prior to that, because it's
a big jump.
It's a big chunk.
$800,000.
Is where we were the previous year and where we are currently in that kind of renewal cycle.
Gotcha.
And we are ahead of where we are. Believe it or not, we're ahead of where we were last year.
Okay.
And so we feel pretty comfortable with where we'll end up being there. And as, you know, we project development for the upcoming fiscal year, it gives us some idea of what anticipated permit fees are going to be, as well as the costs associated with that. And, you know, we've seen steady growth in, obviously, the franchise fees for water and sewer. It's interesting tracking telecommunications, or cable, basically, and phone. That is a little bit different. And then we did take a hit last year on the franchise fee for electricity because of the change in ownership. And I think just they not only did they lock rates in place, they actually reduced them, which impacted our franchise fee. And a lot of that was negotiated after we had passed budgets. So, you know, it was a bit of an eye-opener last year when we opened that check. Felt like, you know, Chevy Chase at Christmas vacation, you know, when you got the bonus check. It was a little disappointing.
Separated and affected everybody equally.
Yeah, it did.
There was a lot of Chevy Chases.
Yeah, there were a lot of Chevy Chases. So, and when we reached out to Dominion, they gave us a good explanation, so that's where we were.
Sanitation fees,
Then,
kind of question.
with you, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, with you're bringing up the federal dollars and the infrastructure bill and what's coming down. The way I read the infrastructure bill, it appears that we will have the ability, and I need you to verify this, but we will have the ability to possibly do the reimbursement portions that we've got the grants for, that we may be able to go after infrastructure dollars for that reimbursement portion. I think you'll have to look into that and see if we can't qualify that way.
Sure.
And the infrastructure, and also there's been some questions asked whether the sewer is stormwater and sewer. And we may want to look at some possible projects to go after some of that infrastructure dollar for that.
Yeah, that, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, is sanitation fees the same thing? A lot of those
Yeah.
come in at the end.
Well, that, and it's a monthly check, so
Gotcha.
it breaks up pretty well.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Anyone? Okay.
Well,
So
I'll
we-
prepare the next departmental budgets, which I'll hopefully get to y'all either Friday or Monday, with another kind of another memo associated with that, along with the notes that are on the spreadsheets. And then we'll probably have those departmental folks here as well to give you an explanation for anything.
Okay.
And then I'll probably have a little bit tighter numbers on revenue projection. We will have to pass on title only, first reading of the budget next week. But with those additional departmental budgets, you probably have a pretty good idea of where we'll be, because we're required to have a balanced budget, expenditure-wise, for the upcoming year. And Reese, we did get a call that ascertaining what the mill value is going to be a bit delayed, from what I understand.
We'll make the paper on Friday.
Yeah, yeah, so, you know, we're gonna project, normally, you know, my marching orders have been, we want to hold millage where it is, or we want to reduce, or we anticipate this. Right now, I have to project property taxes based upon the current millage value. So we hopefully will know more. Now, we don't have to designate the number of mills we're going to charge until a little bit later, although there's been some discussion of that. But, you know, I like knowing my mill value before we get really too deep into the budget process, but that's just not really gonna happen right yet.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So at this point, we can adjourn this meeting and then reconvene in our 6:30 public hearing?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.